One of the best things about building a modular synth is that you get to choose everything about it. The sounds, the sequencing, the effects, the filters, everything. One of the worst things about modular synths is that you have to choose everything. That choice can lead to paralysis and inaction. There is literally an almost infinite choice. Where the hell do you start, especially if you're a beginner? Well, in this new series, I'm going to take the many Eurorack modules that I've acquired over the years, and I'm going to build my ultimate modular synth. And in the process, I'm going to take you through my own thought process and the things you need to think about if you're a beginner considering getting into modular. There are a lot of great reasons to get into it and a lot of downsides, but if you stick around until the end of this video, you will know how to choose your very first module, how to power it up, how to make a sound, and even hopefully how to record that sound. We aren't yet going to be making a chart-topping track, but modular takes time and patience, and maybe because of that, it can be hugely rewarding. Taking a step back, my main goal for this channel is to show you that modular synths are not just for making crazy sounds and bleeps and bloops and those awful YouTube videos that you may already have seen, but it can actually be used to make any kind of music, from pop songs to EDM to hard techno. And I'll be exploring all of those genres and more in the coming weeks and months on this channel. But first, I need to build my wall. If that sounds good to you, consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Right, let's get started. Now, before I actually start building, I feel like I should give you a brief beginner's guide to modular synthesis, as there are lots of terms and abbreviations that I'm going to use, and unless you have a basic understanding, then you're quickly going to get lost. And there are lots of other YouTube videos out there, and if you want to skip this and go to one of those, that's fine. Look at the chapter markers, skip ahead to the actual build. If you already know this stuff as well, do that, that's great. So think of modular synthesis as the ultimate DIY music gear. Instead of buying a pre-made synth or a drum machine, you can build your very own from various building blocks called modules. All right, let's start with the basics. In modular synthesis, your setup consists of different modules, each with a specific function, and usually only one function. So that on their own, none of these modules actually do anything. They need each other. So the magic happens when you connect these modules using cables. Think of it like wiring up different parts of a circuit. You can route the output of one module to the input of another. In fact, you kind of have to in order to get the sound through the chain. But by doing so, you create an almost infinite number of sound possibilities. You know, you want a wobbly bass, well, you patch an LFO or a low frequency oscillator into the frequency of your voltage controlled oscillator. If you want a punchy lead, use your envelope to modulate the VCA. And here's the best part. Modular synthesis is all about experimentation. Unlike a fixed architecture synth where the signal path is set, modular setups give you complete freedom. You can create new sounds simply by changing your patch. And this freedom is what makes modular synthesis so exciting and so addictive. So there is a sort of standard signal flow that you will need to go through to make a normal sound, and that is probably where you will always start. But because there are so many patch points, and by that I mean these different ways of connecting, you can patch things up almost, I guess, wrong, in the wrong way. All you're doing is sending electricity, sending a signal from one module to another module. You can't break these things. You can just create something which you might not like, which is great, but it's all about, well, what if I do this? What if I do that? And you might come up with something that you didn't design, but you have created, and that is so much fun. Look, like a lot of people, when I first dived into modular synthesis, I was totally overwhelmed. There were so many modules, so many cables. It felt like learning a totally new language. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I was definitely out of my depth. But I remember the moment I created my first unique sound. It was a gritty, evolving bass line that gave me chills. Like that feeling of creating something entirely my own is basically why I got into this. It's such an amazing feeling. Now, is it going to make the track fantastic? No, of course not. But is it going to make that time you spent feel worthwhile? Absolutely. And in a world of AI where computers are going to be churning out music that we've heard 1,000 times before, maybe now more than ever is a good time to start making something uniquely your own. And look, if you're passionate about music and you love experimenting with sound, modular synthesis is definitely a journey worth taking. Okay, that's enough of the preamble, enough of the basics. If you have any more questions, drop them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. I'm not sure I explained it particularly well, but we'll get into more of this in more detail as I start building the wall. Back to it. So why am I building my ultimate modular synth? Well, I first got into this whole Eurorack thing about 4 or 5 years ago. It was kind of a lockdown hobby when I didn't have much else to do, like all of you out there. Then I kind of got busy with other things, lockdown ended, started working again, and I kind of just stopped using the module. I ended up with modules all over the place, which is why these are still dusty and need a little bit of tender loving care, to be perfectly honest. A lot of them are just sat around in boxes in my house now. But a few weeks ago, I decided I actually wanted to start using them again. I used to really enjoy spending that time messing around with sound, with music. It's one of those kind of activities that invites the flow state where time just disappears. I don't think there's anything better than that. So I decided I'm going to build my ultimate modular system. I have some shelves in my study / music studio, and I removed the books and the files that were there, and I ordered some specially built racks from Synth Racks because my shelves are not a standard size. They're not designed for modular synths. So my first task is to install the racks, which I need to power the modules. So let's go and do that now. So my plan for this wall, this synth, and it's not just going to be a synth, it's going to be a drum machine, it's going to be a modulation machine, it's going to be a synthesizer, a bassline generator. But the plan is for this thing here to be the creative hub, to make the noise. I'm then going to take the sound out of that and feed it into my computer and record on Ableton. Ableton is a DAW, and that is a digital audio workstation. That's what you need to make sounds in your computer. I'm only going to use it for a recorder. I'm going to record stuff in there, and then I'm going to mix and arrange the track if I get that far, if I want to do that on the computer rather than doing it in here. So the whole project, stage 1 is power. We'll do that right now. Stage 2 is connect a couple of modules, see if we can get sound into Ableton, because that sometimes is easier said than done. Stage 3 is actually trying to make sure I can get the sound from the modular and from me talking and from the vision all together to sync in. And that's kind of my problem, not your problem, but it's harder than you think because I'm recording my voice into the camera. I'm recording this sound from the modular into the Ableton, and somehow I also need to get my voice into Ableton, otherwise they'll be out of sync and it can be really hard to sync it up. If you want to know a little bit about how I go about doing that, a sort of YouTube behind the scenes bit, let me know and I'll do a video on that. It's not really about modular, but it is quite complicated and it's taken me a while to try and figure out the best way of doing that. Right, enough talking. Let's get the power in, let's connect some modules, and let's make some noise. Okay, so the first task is to install power. I've done a couple of the racks, but I'm going to do the third rack here. So this is the power strip from Constant Labs, company in Germany. Now I've had to calculate that I need 4 of these to do this top rack. In fact, to do each rack, I'm going to screw in the 4 power strips first, and they're going to go just on the top shelf here. I've done the other 2 shelves and there's nothing in. They have, I don't know if you can see, but they have the power strips here, and this is the connector to actually go to the wall power outlet. The only other units in here are these 2 units here, and all they're doing is taking signals from this shelf to here, because it's quite a tall unit, and so I knew that I'm going to have to try and move some of the signals around. Even this top shelf is quite high. I am 6'2", and to reach this I am standing on a small step. So it's not going to be ideal, but it is what it is. I did consider putting the shelf at the bottom, but I think I need that for other bits of hardware and bits and pieces. All right, so this is the shelf. This has been custom built. This is 176 HP, I think. An HP is the measurement of width for Eurorack. So I have 3 of these and 2 of these less deep ones. So these are called 1U. These are called 3U. That's just the height of these modules. And yeah, the width is measured in HP. It's going to be 1056 HP of 3U and 354 HP of the 1U. These here, which are great. They're useful for utilities, and we'll get to that in due course. So as I said, one of the problems with Eurorack is it requires time and planning. So I've been desperate to get going with this project, but because I needed these shelves and because I needed the power, I had to order those specially, and it's taken 3 weeks or so for them to get here. So I haven't actually been able to do anything or make any sound for 3 weeks. So I'm pretty keen to get these plugged in and see if we can get something out of it. So let's get going. This bit's going to take a while, so I will speed this bit up. It's in. Like most things in life, it was much harder than it should have been. I managed to get it all in, and then even screwed into the side here. Then I realized that these 2 bars here were not aligned, and I couldn't actually fit any modules in the top row, so I had to take it all apart and do it again. So now, the big test, have we got any power? So we have. This is one. We've got 1 over here, 2, then we've got 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 6 power units. 5 of them I managed to connect up to a master switch. This one is just on its own, and I think if we get 3 green lights, that means we're good. That is 3 green lights. And if you look here, we've got some blue lights, so that is good. Right, let me just turn on the master switch and see whether we've got lights on the rest of it. Ultimately, I'll be able to just use the master switch. Right, that is on. Doesn't make any noise, very dramatic. At least there's no noise of sort of burning or anything. Okay, so we go down here. That's 1, 3 green lights, blue, 3 green lights, 2 lots of blue, 3 green lights here. Unfortunately here though, no green lights. So this one here is not working. And what about the last new one? Get on my step. It is off, so turn it on. 3 green lights, lots of blue lights here. So at the moment we have all racks apart from 1 working. I need to try and trace this, but so far so good. We have power. Right, next stage, let's make some noise. Okay, so it's about 24 hours after I last recorded anything, and the power is all working to the racks, and you'll notice I have installed some modules. Now these are new to me actually, so I haven't used these before, but this is basically a mixer. So this is from Board Brain. This is the main one that goes to here, and it is 6 channels. I have an extra add-on, which is the XP3 Epsilon, which just gives me another 3 channels. So I have 9 channels of audio. And then all of these are then fed into this DB25 audio output module. So I then have all of these 9 stereo channels, so that is 18 channels of audio, plus a stereo FX return A, or not A and B, 1 and 2 has 2 FX returns, plus a mix A out, and all of those channels are sent on these cables here into my computer, which I have now set up to receive the audio inside Ableton, and I have also set up to record my voice into Ableton, so hopefully this is then all in sync with the video and my voice and the music, or the sounds at least. So I will go into each module in detail, but for now, this is just a means for me to connect the modules, to get the sound into my computer and to record it. I'm not necessarily going to be using these to perform, but it is an amazing module where you have volume faders on each strip or each channel. You have mute buttons. You can send each audio to an A and a B mix, or just the A mix. So if I just click some of these switches to the left, that will then be recorded separately for me and into Ableton, as well as each individual channel. So I have lots and lots of options, and as and when I set up some effects returns, I can then add some send and return effects here, and all of those, the FX channels as well, will be recorded separately. So I'll have the dry signal and the wet signal. I thought this was a fantastically powerful module, probably meant for live performance, but it's going to be so helpful for me to mix sounds and record them into Ableton, which is exactly what I want to do. Anyway, let's get into actually connecting some sound modules. And for that, I'm going to start with a kick drum, because why not? And I'm going to have to move the camera because we are going from here this way, and I'm going to build the drum machine aspect of this rack at the very top. So let me just move everything around now. Okay, so this is the first actual module that's going to go into the rack, apart from the mixer. This is the WMD Metron, and this is a drum sequencer, and it can do 16 channels of gates, so it can go out to 16 different modules. I think this is fantastic, and this is one of those ones where I've had it a couple of years, used to know it inside out, and I'm definitely going to be quite rusty. I'm going to have to go back and explore YouTube and work out how to get it to work again. Anyway, let's fix it all in. So first things first is to connect it up to power. So you have to have one of these cables, you plug it into the back. You need to have the red stripe on the 12-volt negative, which is on this side, and you need to make sure that it's going into the right bit of the power in here. And these clever power cables are filtered. So for a digital module, I think this is a digital module, although actually I don't know, maybe I ought to check that. For a digital module, you can put it into the filtered side. Now it is of course best practice to not plug it in while it is live, so I'm going to turn the power off. First things first is to plug the cable in. So I usually only plug in 2, and I have these fantastic, I think they're Bafako screw-in connections. So if I turn this on, we should have some lights, Metron. And we have power. It's set on an internal clock. Tempo is 120. So yeah, why not? That'll start. That'll do the job. Right. I now need something to actually make some noise. That is going to send some triggers. This is the first module I'm going to put in. Gosh, this is so dusty. Right. This is another top tip. Right. Okay. You need a paintbrush to be able to dust without damaging. All right, I'm glad that is easy to hand. So this is the portal drum from Rabbit Elephant. I saw this ages ago and bought it, and you had to pay full price, and it took 2 years, maybe even 2.5 years to come. By the time it came, I wasn't really using Eurorack, so I've had it about a year, but I've not used it. To be honest, I don't really know how it works, other than it makes kick drums. That's basically it, but you can control, as you can see, just about everything. So let's plug it in and see if we can get some noise out of it. Again, I'm going to turn this off. Okay, it does have some lights here. Perfect. So the way this works, these are the 16 steps, and these are the tracks. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, which is the first 4 tracks. You can go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on. So you can get all of them. So if I just put some gates down, that should be 4 on the floor, and you can see that the pulse is coming out of track 1, which is exactly what I want. So if I connect track 1 here to, connect track 1 here into the hit, then we have coarse and fine tune. These are very clever knobs. I don't know if you can see, there are 2 levels. So there's a big one at the bottom, which is presumably coarse, and then a fine one, and the same with pitch. This is the pitch decay. And then I have no idea what the ones on the side do. Let's just get them pointing upwards for now. Presumably, I suspect some sort of attenuator. High pass filter, that's tone. Span, I don't know what span is. There's a bit of drive and amp decay. And then there's something called meow. It looks like there's an envelope there. Let's plug it in, let's see. I need a cable, hold on. Right, are we back? Right, so we connect the gate output to the hit input, and then we connect the output. Oh look, we are actually getting some pulsing here. Can you see that? That looks like a fist, so I don't know. And we will put this, if we go back down to our mixer, if we put it into input 1, oh, we can hear something. So let me just mute that for a second. So these are each stereo strips, so I could put something else in there, but they're both, I think it's sort of normal across. So when you do 2 monos, you can use the balance here to fade between them. The left should be, actually that does pan them. Okay, cool. We can increase the gain slightly, so we get, I think you want the light just to light just on the transient. So this is a kick drum, so we are getting sound. It's coming out of the mixer. We can change the volume, we can mute it, and we can use, if you look under here, you can use CV, control voltage, to control the volume, to control the FX sends, and to control the balance, which we will get to, but probably not with the kick. That's it. We have made sound. I have built a modular wall. I have a mixer. It's going into Ableton. I'm recording it. And I have the very start of a drum machine. The fun begins here. Okay, I'm going to call it a day there, and next video I am going to build out my drum machine. So the top bit here is going to be drum machine. This bit is going to be bass, and I'm going to have a lot of fun with these two, and we're going to start there. Okay, cool, that's it for now. It's taken a long time just to get noise out of it, so that's great. Now I can just start building it out and start learning how to use it and have fun. Is it going to be the most convenient? No, I'm currently stood on a step to get to my drum machine, but it's what I've got, and I haven't managed to electrocute myself, and I have managed to get it to work. I am very pleased with that. If you have enjoyed this, that's great. Please like, subscribe, and I will see you next time, where we will finish the drum machine and get some other sounds and start making something that sounds good, I hope. See you then. Bye. Modular synthesis is such an expensive, complicated, time-consuming process. Most of what I'll be doing with this modular wall could be done with a laptop in my local coffee shop. It would be quicker, it would be easier, the results might potentially be better, and ultimately a lot less satisfying. As I said earlier in this video, I haven't really used my modular kit for a couple of years now, and the reason I quit is that I didn't see the point. Why am I spending all this time making music that no one, or at least very few people, will ever hear? It's a good question. You see, I'm 51 years old. I don't want to be an artist. I don't want to DJ my tracks out in clubs. I'd much rather be in bed. So why am I bothering? What is this all for? And you know what? I realise I've spent most of my life doing practical, useful, real-world things. You know, working hard, mainly sat in front of a computer, making money to pay the bills, investing in real-world assets, shares and things, raising a family. All good, noble stuff, but I've never really created anything. So music, and to an extent this YouTube channel, are my creative outlets. I just want to create stuff for the sake of creating it, to get pleasure in the act of creating a thing that didn't exist before. And if I end up finishing tracks that I'm proud of, I'll stick them up on Spotify as a record of my creations. And if I'm going to document my journey here on YouTube, it's because I like creating videos too. I enjoy the challenge. I love cameras and all the kind of gadgets that go along with it. Now, if you want to follow along, then please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, it helps the algorithm, it gives me more motivation to keep doing this. And if you want to know more about at least one of the modules that will end up in this modular wall, then check out my beginner series on the IntelliGel Metropolis. You can find it here. I actually did this a few years ago when I first got into it, so the videos are not great quality. I've certainly got better at making videos. The audio can be a little bit dodgy as well, so apologies in advance. I will do more of that kind of deep dive as we go forward, and hopefully the audio and video will be much better. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. I will catch you next time. See you then. Goodbye.